Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm founder and director of Natalie Hewitt Events, a UK-based wedding and party planning company. And this is my series, How to Plan a Wedding. I'm going to be interviewing my industry friends to find out how they got into the industry, what's really involved in delivering a wedding, and they're going to share some fantastic advice to help you plan your wedding. Now, these interviews aren't designed to be too long. I want you to be able to listen to them on your commute to work, whilst you're walking the dog, or during your lunch break. I've worked in the industry since 2012 and I live and breathe events, but I completely understand that for a newly engaged couple, the whole process can be incredibly overwhelming. So during our conversations, we're going to introduce you to the wonderful world of weddings. We're going to let you know what to expect when dealing with each supplier category. And we're going to share some fantastic advice to guide you through the process. I'm Natalie Hewitt and I hope you enjoy the series. Today's episode is How to Plan a Wedding with Christopher Alexander from Zen Film Works. Now, videography isn't something that a lot of couples will start to think of at the very start. It's often an afterthought, but it's something that I think is so important and you should really consider. I didn't have a videographer for my wedding and I've always regretted it. I'm interviewing Chris today and I'm so excited to find out more about how he got into the industry and what advice he shares with his couples when they're planning their wedding. Now, I know you started your career off in Sydney. You're working in a design agency.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
You walked past.
Yes.
I'm going to let you tell us.
All right, cool. All right, sweet. So yeah, I was in Sydney and I was an industrial designer working for an agency, and very stressful job. And I enjoyed it for a few years, but then at one point I just drove past a travel agency and just bought a one-way ticket to France. I was
As you do.
Yeah, and I just thought I'm just going to give myself a month to put my life together and then off to France and see what happens. Basically, just threw myself in the deep end. Didn't speak a word of French. And then I ended up in the southwest of France in a town called Osegor, which is a surf town. And that's where sort of my film career started. I started working for some German surf camps, filming some of their competitions and things like that. And then ended up meeting people in some of the surf brands like Insight and Rip Curl and Quicksilver. And and started shooting some surf films. And from there, I sort of discovered, that maybe weddings could be an idea. I shot my first wedding in early 2013, and I fell in love with it. Absolutely loved it. And I thought, this is what I'm going to dedicate my life to creating for at least the next decade.
Yeah.
It's now been, 10 years.
Yeah.
And still loving it. And it's sort of the rest is history. It's just been, just a wild journey of creative escapades and meeting a lot of really cool people and telling cool stories and absolutely loving it.
I mean, the weddings that you shoot are incredible. They're large scale weddings and lots of entertainment going on, but you also do some really beautiful intimate work as well. I love your style. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
And I think I didn't have a videographer for my wedding. I do always tell my couples, really think about it. I'm not trying to make you spend more money, but it's one of those things that I wish I'd always had, because with photography, you have a still image, which is beautiful, and that goes on the mantelpiece. But videography, you're capturing people's, characteristics and their little quirks. And I think that's so beautiful to look back on. I don't have anything to show my kids from our wedding. I've lost the photos. I've still got the album, but I've lost the CD because they used to be on CD. That's how long ago I got married. But I think any form of videography you should probably have. Yeah,
I think it's such a totally different medium to photography. With making films, it's the nuances of somebody's character that you can really get through with film. And it's, we're shooting 25 photographs a second, or 60 photographs a second. So you can really see how the dress moved in the wind, and you can hear the laughter of your grandmother or watch her dancing and that sort of stuff. And, just the other day I had an email from a client and it was their 10-year anniversary and they'd lost their film, or the files or something for their film. And
so
obviously,
easy to do.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago, but obviously I still kept it all on file. So I sent it over to them. They're like, my father had died. Their father had passed away a few months earlier and they really wanted to see it. And then I just, out of curiosity, went back and had a look at the film. And their father did the most incredible speech. And it was beautiful. I was like, oh my God, this guy's passed away now. And they get to see this. And they saw him walk his bride down the aisle and them dancing and having this amazing time. And it brings everybody to life. It's such a medium that it complements photography so well. But it's so important to have it. And if you don't have the budget for, a very high-end videographer, just get something recorded, get those movements, get those moments recorded on film, and it's something that you definitely won't regret having.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with you on a wedding day, and I know you personally now as well. And I know you bring the energy to the room if that's what's required. But you've also got a fantastic way of sort of seeing what the situation is and knowing when to step back.
Yep.
A lot of my couples will say to me, we'd want to make sure that we haven't got a team of 4 videographers, a team of 4 photographers, and they're in the way and they're taking over. And I think it's a skill to be able to document a wedding and make a couple feel really comfortable and capture the story without being too there.
Yeah, I think the nature of being filmed is very different to knowing that your photograph's being taken. People can become very camera aware or lens aware, and they think that when they know that they're being filmed, then their behaviours might change. I make a real point of talking with the client and even going there on the day and say, listen, by the end of the day, you're going to absolutely love the camera. You're going to be having so much fun. You're going to be really flirted with the camera and have a good time. That's with that kind of client that has that personality, of course. And being able to read the room is very important because of that camera awareness, and people can be a bit more shy when they know they're being recorded. You can read the room and you can tell, right, I'm going to change lenses and I'm going to take a step back into the corner and shoot them when they not really know they're being filmed. So they can be much more comfortable and just interact with their guests, interact with their family, and have those moments and not be, oh my God, where's the camera? And I'll sometimes kick the team out of the room. So it's just the 2 of us. So those moments can be more intimate, and there's less lenses pointing at them. So all these moments can be much more natural instead of rehearsed or a little bit rigid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's that booking process? So if my couples or a couple, or I'm looking for a wedding videographer and I'm on Google or I'm on Instagram or however we find you, what if I reach out to you, what's that process?
Right. So because it's generally such a story-based type medium that you're working with, it's always good to have a chat with a couple and let them know that that we're the right fit for them and they're the right fit for us. So there's this kind of like empathic resonance between each other that we can really understand each other. They can understand us. They can understand the process and be comfortable with that. And then obviously it's just the formalities of contracts and invoices and all that sort of stuff, and get that out of the way. And then once all that's been signed, I actually have an ebook that I send to my clients, which is how to plan a wedding with video in mind, because there's so many aspects to the wedding day that can be made much better if it's just considered before the day when it comes to making films.
Such a good idea.
Yeah, many things, like all the way from the beginning of the day to the very end of the day, and the dancing and the first dance and things like that. We suggest talking with the lighting designer if you have one, if you have a big production company. Keeping the spaces and areas clean, making sure that we know who the photographer is, so that way we can have a chat and work out, what's your style of how do you work, so that way we can work symbiotically.
It's a big collaborative project.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of creatives, on a wedding day. There's so many. Everybody's a creative, from the florist to the makeup artist. We're all creatives, we're all artists doing our job for that one result, which is an incredible day, an incredible experience, and incredible take homes for the client.
Yeah.
So once we've done all the formalities and things like that, we've sent them the ebook and things like that, and they're starting to understand, then we'll have a creative call with the client. And that way we can get to know the couple's story. We can understand what their likes and dislikes are when it comes to wedding videos or films themselves, who their favorite directors are, what their sort of favorite fashion films and fashion brands are, because I shoot quite sort of fashion forward, style. And then I can really sort of get a good picture, and I write like a bio of the couple that I have for myself, and I send to my team as well, so we know what style of film we're going to shoot. Sometimes it could be, I have a client I just shot in Paris, and they wanted to something looking really old world and black and white and a beautiful sort of like a vintage type film. Not like it was shot on film or a Super 8 or anything like that, but they wanted the emotion and the feel to be very old world. Others want really bright colors and fast moving and really sort of social media sort of style, which is this really fast and punchy and energetic. And that's the sort of stuff that we uncover in the pre-production phase to really understand the client.
So there's that flexibility to create something very unique and bespoke to each couple.
Of course, yeah.
Because I think when you're looking for a videographer and you go on Instagram or their website and you're watching the videos, I think you've really got to make sure that you, first of all, love their portfolio of work, have that discovery call to find out if you've got that connection with them, and obviously ask for a quote to see if the price point works, although there's a little bit room for negotiation. You can tweak things,
Always.
take bits out, add bits in. But if you're capturing different styles, perhaps it might be a case of them asking, this is the kind of style of videography that we're looking for. Is this the style that you do? Because you've got that flexibility to create something different.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to be flexible. I think being rigid in your own style means that you could be, either you're leaving work on the table, but you're also, I think, especially when it comes to film, you can be really flexible because a film is created multiple times, from the pre-production to shooting it on the day to the editing to the coloring. That's 3 different ways the film can be made and adjusted. So there's a lot of flexibility in there to tell the story a different way.
Yeah.
And it's all based on the personality of the couple. Nearly every film that you see that we've created is unique to the couple, and you can feel their personalities coming through because it's a very sort of empathetic and emotional type journey that you're going on with your clients. And I try and pull the emotion of the couples and their personalities into the film. So it's really them.
Is it quite a collaborative process? Do you speak to the couple before or after the wedding to really help get them to have their input?
Yep, definitely. Yeah. I'll speak to, obviously we have the pre-production meetings. We'll be talking through the day as well. I'll be like, oh, what do you think of this? Do you like this? And if they're open to that, talking on the day. Sometimes they're just like, I'm on my wedding day, do what you do. A lot of the time that happens. But yeah, and then sometimes there's, we'll do a walkthrough, we'll do location scouting. I have a client in Gestad next year. And she wants something really cinematic. She works in the film industry herself. And,
no pressure.
Yeah, right. And so she wants something. The film is very, very, very important to her. So we're going to be doing like a full day of just location scouting.
Oh, wow.
To sort of almost like do the blocking, which is like where the clients are going to be, and storyboard how this story is going to be created in the wedding day. So it's all being very flexible and doing what you can for the client.
Yeah. Will you ever speak to the couple before the wedding day just to run through details?
Yep. Yes, of course. Yeah. Generally about a month or so before the wedding. That's when they've done all the work with the planner. Everything's almost sort of locked down by then. Then we can ask the questions: is there anything special to do with your own story and your relationship that you've incorporated into the day that we need to be aware of? Little surprises. We talk to them about what dialogue are you going to use, because sometimes dialogue can be a really strong part of a wedding film. So we give them tips and ideas on how to incorporate that if that's something they want to do. And there's lots of different ways that's possible.
Yeah.
And then we talk about the creatives again. And then after the wedding day, that's when we say, right, so once obviously there's a bit of an editing backlog sometimes, but I say, right, cool, so we're about to start editing. It's about your footage is going to hit the editing studio in a couple of days. Do you have any special requests? Is there anything that you'd really like to see? Is there any sort of type of energy that you really want in your film? And that's when we can talk about music and things like that. And I obviously give my opinion on what would really work. But if they have their really heart set on something, then I'm not going to say, that's not going to work. Because that's not what I do. It's like, if that's what you really, really, really want, this is my advice. But if that's what you want, it's your film. Of course, have it. It's fun.
Yeah, I like that. So there's not too much work in the lead up to the wedding, but your hard work starts on the wedding day, and I suppose afterwards as well. So when you get to site on the wedding day, what's your process? What happens?
Right. So obviously getting to site starts with, a few days before the wedding, where we need to check what kit we're going to use, make sure everything's sorted, everything's charged, everything's working correctly. Generally, most of the weddings that we do are international ones all over the world. So we'll always fly in probably 2 or 3 days before, so that way we can do location scouting. We can make sure that if there's any problems with flights or trains or baggage loss or something, we have a day or two of space to sort the problem out. Touch wood, it's never happened, but we always want to leave that space because we provide that luxury service, so that's something. It's like, we will be there on the day with our kit, ready to go. No questions asked. And then it's wedding day. We get on site. Generally it's a 3 or 4 day wedding. So it's the pre-wedding there on the first day. That way we can really get to know the venue. We can understand where the light is, get to know the couples, get to know all the guests as well. It's a lot more informal sort of atmosphere. And then on the wedding day, It's
the preparation, I suppose, of the couple getting ready.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's sort of part of the day. You're wanting to know sort of what we do.
So I suppose, I mean, is there anything that is the couple that need to think about before the day to prep for that moment of you coming to photograph?
Right. Okay.
To film?
Yeah. I think, obviously the bridal prep room can be chaos in the morning, there's bridesmaids getting ready, the bride's getting ready, there's hair and makeup. You could have 3 or 4 hair and makeup stations in a room.
There's food everywhere.
There's food everywhere. Yeah. So it's always good. My advice, and in this ebook that I send to my clients, is try and keep that space as clean as possible, and also try and have the bride when she gets ready into her dress, have that in a separate room that we've found that has the most beautiful light, and that's clean and that's untouched. Mm-hmm. That way we can get the most gorgeous photos and film in that space. And we can also, it's a nice quiet space where obviously the photographer loves to do flat lays or things like that and shoot the details. And it's a nice quiet space where they can go there and get creative and get into that creative space, because you can be a bit hectic in the bridal suite. And also my advice sometimes is don't let the bridesmaids get ready in the bridal suite.
Yeah.
Which is a really good one, because that way there's only one person getting ready. The bride can, or if there's 2 brides or 2 grooms or something, it doesn't really matter. Where that space where the person's being prepped is calm. It's a calm place. It's somewhere where they can sort of soak in the day and think about what's going on and sort of take all that in. Sometimes the person wants chaos in the room and it's just super crazy, but as long as they're aware that that's going to impact the film and photos, then it's their day. It's not a film shoot, it's not a photo shoot, it's a wedding. And I think it's important for the client experience to be just as important as what we create. They want to have an amazing time, and for the couples, the photographer and the videographer, we're going to see them and be in contact with them probably the most out of the whole day. So it's really important to be a really positive part on the day, and the getting ready part in the morning is really an intimate time. So it's sort of just take a step back and just observe and shoot what we can, and get beautiful shots, because that's what we do.
And I always tell my couples, plan to be ready well in advance, even if that's an hour before you actually need to leave for the ceremony, because I think that's going to give you sufficient time to have some photos and videos of you in your outfit. But then also it gives you that time, because we've had this conversation when we were planning the weddings that we've worked on together. You need to go to the next location and set up so that you're there in time. But then that opportunity leaves that couple, typically the bride, to have a quiet moment just before they leave for the ceremony. Yeah,
most definitely. Yeah, it does take a long time, especially for film. Film is such a slower process than photography. A lot of time photography is just check out the light, throw a lens on, do what you need. But for film, you need to set up audio, you need to set up tripods, you need to check that no one's going to be in each other's way. You need to converse with the photographer. How do you want to shoot this space? How are we going to do this together collaboratively? You need to put a microphone on the groom. You need to put a microphone on the celebrant. You need to put a microphone on the space where if there's any speeches or readings or anything like that. So that all has to be set up and rolling, and then someone out the front of either the church or the space for when that car arrives. And that's a very beautiful, incredible time, is when the car arrives and the bride or the groom or whoever gets out of the car. It's a really cool moment, and then it's when she's just getting ready. It's a really nervous. You can get some really beautiful emotion on that in that time. So we need to be ready for that.
Yeah. And you mentioned audio, so putting mics on, especially for the ceremony, and you want to pick up the vows and document all that conversation. The bride doesn't need to wear a microphone, because that will pick up from everybody else wearing one. But is it quite a bulky microphone? What does it look like?
No. So generally, it's a small piece, probably around maybe 5 centimeters squared with maybe 2 centimeters deep. Okay, so they're not very big. It's a tiny little microphone. It's called a lavalier mic that we'll generally use, and we just clip it. It's just, especially if it's a black suit, you just clip it onto the lapel of the jacket, and it slips and just hides in a pocket. So all you see is just a tiny little microphone there, and then obviously we mic up the celebrant as well. However they can be, depends on what clothes they're wearing. But yeah, they're very small and very unobtrusive pieces of kit, just for that reason, to be discreet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's the ceremony. Oh, so are we okay with the foot tweaking?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another point about ceremony, and I hear photographers and videographers going on about this all the time, is lighting. And you want to get the lighting right. So when you're thinking about your ceremony, cake cutting, first dance, you've got to think, pre-plan the lighting. You don't want to be squinting during your ceremony. So, and is that the information that you share in your ebook before?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Understanding where the light's going to be for the ceremony. That can affect the timing of the day. You say, especially if you do a lot of the location scouting and you use different apps to check where the sun's going to be in relation to the space, and also checking what the background's going to be like. Because you're going to be shooting through the people, and there's going to be something in the background. Let's try and make that as beautiful as possible.
Yeah.
Don't have it as a flat brick wall. Maybe there's a gorgeous tree with farmland in the background, or Lake Como with the lake in the background. Something visually interesting and nice. And hopefully not too busy that's going to be distracting. And make sure that the couple are going to be in one standard light, whether it's full sun or full shade. Generally, full shade's better because they're going to be squinting, they're not going to sweat, they're not going to get sunburnt. And just take that into consideration as much as you can. Sometimes the space won't allow it with the amount of guests. Obviously, the wedding planner will understand that. But trying to make this space as cinematically beautiful as possible is what we're going to try and push for.
Yeah. And I've worked with production companies. They love their lights. They like to make the dance floor all jazzy, but is there a particular color of lighting that you like for the first dance?
Right. Well, yes, there are certain moments of the evening that is all about, it's a very important part of the evening. So it's the cake cutting and the first dance generally. They can be beautifully cinematic moments.
Yeah.
And part of what I talk to my clients about during these meetings and in the ebook that I send them is, let's have a chat with the lighting designers and say, can we please just have one or two warm white spotlights, and that's it. And that way you can get these gorgeous moments. The skin tones are going to look fantastic because obviously when there's a party, everyone likes blue lights, red lights, pink lights. It makes the skin tones look awful. You can make it look really washed out and grey,
and I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
Thought to think about that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to have that part of the film in color, it's going to look awful.
Yeah.
And even in black and white, if it's a red light, you're still going to look awful.
Yeah.
Right. So red, definitely not. Blue, please don't. So a nice warm light for the couple for the cake cutting and the first dance it creates drama. It's a beautiful moment, and the film is going to look incredible. Yeah. And that's generally what we ask for.
Yeah. And another thing about first dance that I've noticed, I've tried to clear, I ask the guests to crowd around the dance floor to watch the first dance. My couple get in the middle of the dance floor. And then by the time you've got the photographers and the videographers, there's just no room for you to capture the first dance. And it's such a shame. So I think sometimes some pre-planning about the space around moments as well.
Yeah, totally. Especially if it's a choreographed first dance, that's a part of what we talk about. If it is choreographed, let's do a rehearsal the day before so we can see what the dance looks like. What are the movements how far out are we going to go? Are there any lifts? Are there any special dips and spins? That way you can be ready to be in the right spot with them doing a dip and the light's right and there's all the guests in behind us going, wow, it's that really cool moment. So we want to be in the right spot, that part of the dance. And making sure that there is space for them to do that and there's space for us to actually capture that well, because we could have 2 or 3 photographers and 2 or 3 videographers in that space trying to not cross each other.
Yeah.
Because the photographers don't want a shot of a videographer in the background and vice versa. We all want to make sure that we're capturing that moment as if there was nobody there apart from them and the guests. So that's what we're trying to look for. Having that pre-planning and cutting the cake, put the cake somewhere where we can shoot them cutting the cake and all their guests are in the background cheering, just elevating that moment as much as we can.
Yeah. So you usually start from the start of the wedding when they're getting ready to capture those shots of preparation. You'll film the whole day, usually a bit of party shots if they've got fireworks, and then they might be having a second day afterwards or a third day, so you capture that. And then I imagine that's when your hard work starts.
Exactly.
Because I can't even imagine how much footage you have to look through in the editing process.
Yeah, it's a lot. At the moment with the cameras we've got in a full wedding day, we'll be bringing in at least a terabyte of footage.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a lot of data.
Do you have to watch it all and go through
Every single clip. Every single clip. It's a long process to make it perfect. You could skim everything and you'd probably still create a nice film, but it wouldn't be the best that you could possibly create than if you watch every single clip, because there could be something you miss that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very long process. I say that once the wedding is filmed, we're probably only about a quarter way through the process.
Yeah. And when I joke out at the end of a wedding where I say thanks so much and I expect the video on my desk on Monday morning, I'm only kidding, but usually how long do you think delivery is?
Delivery can be, it's how long is a piece of string really, because it depends on the complexity of the wedding. If it's a very simple elopement, just 2 people, and it's an easy story, 1 camera, sometimes a very small crew, it's just myself and an assistant. Sometimes I have a team of 5 or 6 other filmmakers, so massive teams. So the bigger the production, the bigger the team, it's going to be a longer process. Generally, I aim to try and have things delivered within 3 months, and it just depends on the backlog and stuff and things like that. And sometimes clients want a teaser like within 2 weeks or so after. That is possible, but it's something that my clients will, because it's an add-on. It's an add-on. It's an add-on. Just because it's not just getting one image and doing some, and obviously doing all the color and then delivering it. You have to create a film. You have to go through all the footage. Like, it's part of the process is you have to go through the footage to be able to find the best stuff, and that takes a long time. You have to ingest everything. You have to do your proxies. It's a big process just to create one small little film. Even though it's a small film, you still got to do the whole package.
You've got to do.
You got to prep the project. And prepping the project can sometimes be a day or 2 just in that.
Oh, wow.
Before you even start cutting.
I hadn't actually realised. I mean, I understood that it was a time-consuming task, but I hadn't actually realised how much. I won't tease you next time. If you had one piece of advice to give to a couple planning their wedding to consider about videography, what would it be? Get
videography. Simple as that. Just get it.
Yeah.
Depends on your budget.
In any
shape and form. Obviously, if you have a big budget, if you have any kind of budget, then find a videographer that resonates with you. Check their portfolio. Check a lot of the films that they've done, because they might have varying styles for different clients, like we do. Like, it's not just one particular color profile. It's not one. We create films based on their personalities and the event that they've created. And then have a call with them. See if because it's a very intimate thing, and have a call with them and see that they've got the experience, that they've got the nice personality, and you're going to really enjoy having them as one of the most intimate people next to you throughout the whole day. And then if all the stars align and the budget works, go for it. And if you have a small budget, then do the best you can with what you've got. But I just have it recorded, because it's something that you will cherish incredibly. You might be like, oh yeah, that's cool, a year down the line, but 10 years down the line, you're like, this is the most incredible thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I'm actually finishing all of my interviews with quick fire round questions. Okay. I want to get to know you a bit better.
Okay.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Don't think about these. You literally just have to quick fire. Okay. What's your favorite holiday destination?
Ooh, I don't like to go to the same place twice if I can avoid it. So I have some dream places that I want to go. I think Patagonia. I'd love to go to Patagonia. Yeah. I'm a real nature baby. And the idea of going to these wild wildernesses down there, or like Mongolia or something like that, and just experience nature in its most powerful forms, I think would be pretty incredible. Yeah.
Do you take your camera when you go on holiday?
I take a film camera. I shoot on 35mm film.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a sort of like, it's an old 1960s Nikon F2. That's what they used to shoot the world.
Nodding like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's beautiful old 35mm film camera.
Oh, amazing. Okay, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee, drink it. Are you a night owl or an early bird?
I think I'm an early bird. I'd like to be a night owl, but I do. I'll be up at 6:30, and I do love a nice morning. Yeah. Yeah, I put some jazz on and make my little espresso and read a book and do some meditation and stuff in the morning. I like that.
I like the idea of being up before anybody else, but I'm so tired at the moment. I don't think I could do it. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
I have. There's this one thing that I tell people. It's like, don't tell anyone, but.
You were about to tell everyone.
But I'm about to tell everyone, so this is going out there. But the old Sex and the City series.
Really?
I know. There's something about it. It's the story, it's the characters, and I really, really love jazz. And the series is full of like really good jazz and beautiful like interior design. I think New York is just such a beautiful city. And the fashion. And the energy and the fashion, it's just cool. I don't really like the movies. The movies were and then the new series but the old Sex and the City series is just cool.
No judgment.
Yeah.
Do you have a weird celebrity crush?
Oh, weird.
And if it's not weird, just a celebrity.
There was a celebrity crush, and her name is Rosario Dawson. And there was just something incredible about her. She's a really good singer, an amazing actress.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. We're going to karaoke. What's your song of choice?
Oh, I have been. I do. In karaoke, I drive and sing quite a bit. I actually used to be in a choir when I was young.
Did you really?
I did. And yeah, Amos Lee. I do like Amos Lee a lot. Singing him is like a kind of like bluesy country sort of stuff.
Yep.
Or any kind of jazz song, and then like a Chet Baker or something like that. It's quite nice to sing along to.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I
Can
think.
we just go
Or
to
Simon and
jazz?
Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, good choice. What's your favourite food?
Oof. I used to be a chef as well while I was studying design.
Is there anything you haven't done?
I used to be a massage therapist too.
Yep.
So, favorite food. I love
All of it.
Yeah, I love Thai. I love anything good, anything considered, anything that people have really thought about when they've made it. Like
Yep.
good quality food. You know, I think Italian can be the most amazing thing you've ever tasted. Michelin star stuff. Street food, like traveling. I love going to the food markets and street food and everything like that. Yeah, I just love all kinds of food if it's done well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't choose one.
Yeah. All of them.
All of them.
You've just, you haven't really, but you've won the lottery, big bucks. What's your first purchase?
Well, first I'd have a big party. Then I'd love to buy a beautiful classic car, and maybe a yacht.
I said one.
Sailing yacht. Oh
That's
god,
3
everything.
things.
I just have it all.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, sailing yacht. I think would
Yeah.
be super cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
5. 5 things you said.
all the things.
Thank you so much. It's been so
Absolute
great
pleasure.
to get to know you a bit better, to hear your advice about videography as well. I can't wait to work with you again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers.
Congratulations on your engagement and good luck with your wedding planning. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, basically all of the buttons below, and stay tuned for more in the series as I talk to my industry friends to guide you through the process of how to plan a wedding.